Rev up your engines. Now, if you're looking for big SUV, a lot of people like Expeditions. Have you priced them recently? You got 70, 80 grand? Well, this guy bought this thing not that long ago for $4,200. He even had new tires on it. Now, was it a smart move? Would it be a smart move for you? Well, I'm going to tell you. It's in excellent shape body-wise. It's an Expedition. It is rear-wheel drive. You can see underneath, it's a full frame. These are full frame vehicles, just like an F-150. Now, they have many generations of these things. But as far as I'm concerned, this generation is the best because of what's under the hood. Triton V8 engine. It has normal fuel injectors. It's not gasoline direct injection. It's much more complex. And what's it hooked up to? A 6-speed automatic. They're very good transmission. The new ones cost a lot of money. You know what you get? You can't get a V8. They don't put them in them anymore. You get a twin turbo V6, notorious for having problems, and a 10-speed transmission. That's also notorious for having problems. Okay? This thing has 193,000 miles on it. He's put 20,000 miles on it at the time he's owned it. And so far, it's been a great vehicle because back in the day, they made them better. Now everybody talks gas mileage, blah, blah, blah. They get 21 miles a gallon on the highway. Guess what a new one gets? 23 miles a gallon. For 70-something grand, you can buy an awful lot of gasoline, and that tiny differential, you'd have to drive to outer space and back to the nearest star to get your money back. Plus, his insurance is dirt cheap on this. He pays $60 a month insurance. Buying vehicles like this that are well made, it's a smart move. Now, yeah, you're always taking a gamble. It's been taken care of, blah, blah, blah. That's why you pay guys like me to check them out before you buy them. But if you pick the right one like this, it can be a diamond in disguise. Now, I wouldn't touch one of these things if it had a twin turbo V6 engine with GDI, if it had this kind of mileage, because the engine would be worn out. The turbos would either be worn out or they've been replaced already. This doesn't have all that crap on it, and it can last so much longer. This thing doesn't burn any oil. It's a V8. These things were made for V8 engines. Rear-wheel drive is fine for a heavy vehicle like this. It's a full frame heavy vehicle. It's pretty much a Ford F-150 turned into a giant SUV. And the interesting thing is, he bought this thing from the second owner, and he's got the logs that go way back to even show what has been taken care of. I mean, you can't go wrong with something like that. Let's face it, the new ones are just too expensive. And when you see the little bit of difference in gas mileage that they get, plus what you're gonna pay in insurance, you gotta pay a lot in insurance. What if it's stolen? They gotta pony up the 70-something grand you paid for it, right? He only paid $4,200 for this, and it worked perfectly fine. He did have to replace the fuel pump, but he blamed himself because he was running on fumes. This is why I tell you, don't run on fumes. Fuel pumps are electric. They're inside the gas tank. And it sounds kind of insane, but the gasoline is what lubricates them. As they're spinning, bearings are lubricated by gasoline, which is somewhat slimy. When you run on fumes and you actually suck fumes and not gasoline into the pump, the air burns out the pump. But he bought a Motorcraft pump on eBay for $100. What the heck? This isn't like the new ones where everything costs a fortune. He put the rear shocks on, and they were only $100. Check out the modern suspension systems that are all computer, air, hydraulic control. You could spend thousands of dollars replacing it all for. This doesn't have that ridiculous technology. Yet it's so big, it still rides good. Understand, a lot of ride has to do with your wheelbase. If you got a small wheelbase car, it's gonna ride like crack over bumps. That's just how it goes. My wife's Matrix runs great, smooth roads. You get on bumpy roads, it's bumpy because it's got a small wheelbase. It doesn't matter what kind of shocks you put on it, it's going to ride bumpy. And these things, as big as they are, you just get decent shocks, it's going to ride quite well because of the weight and the wheelbase. You got more suspension travel because they're bigger, and being bigger bounces better. I mean, think about it. If you punch a big guy, he's not going to move too much. Punch a little guy, he's going to move faster. Same thing when you're driving down the road with your car. Yes, the new ones have even smoother rides. You want to spend 75 grand more? Be my guest. I'm not going to, and neither is he. Now, so we'll look inside. Oh, wow. The leather seat is ripped. Big deal. You can get a seat cover. You can have it reupholstered if you want. It doesn't really matter. But the rest of them, hey, it's in pretty good shape. No cracks, sunroofs, Oh, it's got a DVD player. Well, they're gonna test it out. They have headphones and Lord of the Rings DVD, but they haven't tried it yet. It'll probably still work, you know? I mean, hey. And if it doesn't, you can get a Chinese one on eBay for probably $45 and hook it up if you wanted to. You can see they're traveling in it. Look, they have their bed set up. They're probably sleeping in it too. So now comes the point of no return, the giant computer analysis to see what shape this thing is in. There we go. We plugged it in the OBD port. The idiot lights are on. Look at that. It already detected it. We know it's a Ford. It's not a European Ford. We'll do standalone diagnostics, and we're off and running. It read the VIN number already. Now it's decoding it all. But speaking of that engine, a lot of people say, oh, those are terrible engines, blah, 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 blah. They really aren't if you take care of them. The problem is the average American is a total slob, and they don't take care of their vehicles. So if you don't change the oil and take care of it, yes, the engines will wear out. This is the case in point. It has 193,000 miles on it, still running perfectly fine, because people have taken care of. He's got stacks of the maintenance from the two previous owners. Let's see, we can do a basic topology scan. So while it's scanning, we'll look around. Dash is still in excellent condition. The seats, other than one I'm sitting on, which is ripped, but you can fix that. It's done already. It's only got 3 trouble codes, and they're probably baloney ones, because one of them is the generic electronic module, which probably won't mean anything much at all. If you already knew that, why would you spend a bunch of money putting tire sensors? There's 4 of them, and one on a spare, when you're gonna have a tire pressure gauge for $10. So we'll erase these, but they'll come back, because I'm guessing that they're all just, the batteries have worn out. You can see even though I erased them, it still shows them, because obviously they're not working. But we really don't care. So here we go again. Now it's gonna start turning things on and off. You can see the radio itself knows it's in diagnostic mode. Got communication code. Controller area network communication bus fault. Receive error. So it thinks there's a problem with the main controller line. If the battery's replaced, it'll often do something like that. But it runs perfectly fine. So we really don't care. Erase it anyways. You can see it's erased it. So let's start her up. Starts up strong. And we'll look at live data. Gonna get a lot of information. Even though it's an older car, it's got a lot of complex computer control. But check it out. The airflow trim is minus 0.08. That means it's only 0.08% off. Not bad for a car that's pushing 200,000 miles, is it? You wouldn't find that on a new one. Here you go, the battery's charging fine. No faults in any of the sensors. Here's an interesting thing. It had its trouble codes reset 5,405.85 kilometers ago. That was when his fuel pump went out and he replaced it. And it wasn't that bad. He bought one on eBay, a Motorcraft, and he charged him $400 labor, which is totally fair. So here we go. No misfire. Evap system's all good. That's all the gear information. Sensor's fine. No faults in any of the injectors. You can see. I'm telling you, they built these things quite well. With just a little maintenance, they can last quite some time. Total number of misfires, a 0. Cam timing's fine. Well, there's no backup camera. You know what? Rear view mirrors work better. We're headed to Tobacco Road. Yeah, it's fitting for being in the South. This thing is so smooth. Sure, it's almost got 200,000 miles, but these full-frame Fords, they actually made them quite well. The only thing I could hear was a tiny squeak in the plastic of the steering wheel. That was it. And man, this thing is smooth. There's rain clouds on the horizon, but they're not here yet. And here we go. Man, that's smooth. He was saying it stuttered a little, but of course it won't stutter. Now that I'm in the car, they don't like mechanics. This thing is in immaculate shape. Man alive. Ready to go into the storm. I have no problem driving through a storm in this heavy vehicle. The wind will not blow it around. But check it out, the keypad still works. So what do I have to say about this? What a deal. You want to spend 70, 80 grand on a new one that's got an engine that won't last this long? Ooh, it gets 2 miles a gallon, better gas mileage. Realize, these are giant framed vehicles, full frame, just like an F-150 truck. Full frame vehicles weigh a lot, they get crappy gas mileage. It doesn't matter what kind of engine in the real world, not on a dyno, in the real world, doesn't make any difference. Just like the Toyota Tacoma. They went from a V8 to a twin turbo V6, and they get like 1 or 2 miles a gallon better on the highway. That's in. You want to find something like this? He didn't even have a mechanic check it out because he did a different route, which often works. Both of these were owned by middle-class people, took care of it. He's got reams of repair orders and maintenance done. He didn't need a mechanic. He drove it around too. It doesn't run bad either. So if you can find something like this, you want a big vehicle, my advice, buy one of these. Don't buy the 10-speed trannies. Get the old ones that have the 6-speed trannies that last longer, have less problems. And hey, he drives it all over the place. He goes to Maine. He goes everywhere. It's a well-made vehicle. You don't need all-wheel drive, most people. If you put snow tires on this thing, you'll have no problems driving through the snow. Don't get oversold on all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. You often don't need it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.